Big week, Fraser, big week. All eyes are going to be on Fury and obviously Usyk. This is an exciting fight. Lots of different permutations. What's your take on it all?
So where I'm at with this one is, the first one was super exciting because we'd not seen them in the ring with each other. It was the first undisputed for so long. I think I'm still mega excited about this. It's still a massive fight and a great way to end the year for boxing. But obviously we've seen them both in the ring together. We've got half an idea of what to expect. Do I know the outcome of this fight? I think it's razor close again. I've not seen as much from Fury in the build-up as I'm used to. The last few images I've seen of him was he had a little bit of a smile on his face, having a laugh and joke in camp, a few pictures. He's got the big grizzly beard, which tells me he's been in a dark place. He's been putting the work in. And from Usyk, we get the same old, just, he looks serious with an element of fun as well. And obviously they're both going to this. It's a huge fight for boxing.
Are you very excited by the prospect of this fight? Because obviously there's fights that wet the whistle and people get very interested and very intrigued. Obviously your fight with Fabio Wardley, where people were very invested in, different level, but notwithstanding, it's still a lot of investment.
Yeah.
Does this fight really excite you, given the fact that arguably they're the best two heavyweights on the planet?
Yeah.
We've already seen the first fight.
Yeah.
Do you get really excited by the prospect of this fight?
I do, because of the first fight. The first fight was very competitive, very good. It had its ups and down moments. So this one for me, obviously, the two best heavyweights in the division fighting against each other in the same ring. If you're a boxing fan, you can't really complain about that. Yeah, you can't really.
Spence, what's the atmosphere like over in Riyadh? You're there, not paying for your hotel bills, I suspect. Yeah. What's it like over there, atmosphere-wise?
Well, listen, I'm in the Fighters Hotel right now. Oleksandr Usyk actually has just made his entrance. He's turned up already. Tyson Fury's not quite here yet, but the atmosphere is buzzing. We saw what happened in the last fight, and I agree with Fraser. It was razor tight. I think that Oleksandr Usyk did win the fight. He had enough, in the tank to get it over the line. And it's going to be a fascinating fight, this one. But, yeah, there's a real intrigue on who's going to win, how it's going to go. But the atmosphere certainly is a good one over here, because people know what they're in for, We've all got an opinion on this fight and how it's going to go, but none of us really know. Can Fury make those adjustments, make those minor changes that may win him the fight? Can he start better than he did in the last contest? Or is it Oleksandr Usyk just got his number? Has he got that better boxing IQ? I mean, we're going to find that out for sure. But Tyson Fury's been away in Malta, no social media, locked himself away for 10 weeks. He's approached this fight totally different to the last fight that, that he had with Oleksandr. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he comes out. First time coming back from defeat. How's he have taken that one? Will he have, will it be the kick up the backside that he's needed, to sort of like relight that fire in his belly? We're going to find all that out on Saturday night. But one thing's for sure, Tyson Fury has left no stone unturned. Oleksandr Usyk, by the way, looked very, very big when he come in here. Looked bulked up, very athletic, looks in great shape himself.
Fraser, a lot of debate's been had about Fury's weight and what he should come into this fight at, and that potentially he should be perhaps a stone heavier like he was in the third fight against Deontay Wilder. Where do you stand on that for Tyson?
With Tyson, I think, listen, we know him, we've seen him over the years. He's never going to look like the pristine athlete, but his body shape, and he looks a bit more comfortable for me, that little bit more heavier. I think he's got a lot more, punch resistance when he's a bit heavier. It's finding that right balance.
But what do you think? I mean, ultimately, we all know that he's not going to be chiselled. We all know that he's not going to have that physique that perhaps Anthony Joshua has got. We're not suggesting that. But when he comes in bigger, it signals that he's coming in to do a certain job. And the job that he did on Deontay Wilder was meet him in the middle of the ring and take control of the fights. Do you think that's a calling card, that if he comes in heavy, like he did in the third fight, that it's going to signal that? And do you prefer him to be at that weight bigger than he was in the first fight against Usyk?
I think it would show a lot of intent, but I don't think there was much wrong with his weight last time. I think the fight was very close. So if he is coming in heavier, obviously judging on past fights, we might get a bit of an idea of his approach to the fight. But I don't think there was anything wrong with him last time. I think, like I say, it was close and a few adjustments, I'm not sure weight is one of them things that I'd be concentrating on adjusting.
Okay. Paulie Malignaggi was on talkSPORT last week. Let's see what he had to say.
It's the 3 fights with Wilder. I don't know if Wilder or Fury are the same after those 3 fights. Wilder certainly didn't look the same anymore. And Fury, to me, his punch resistance was always among the best. You know, he's gotten up from Deontay Wilder punches that would have caved in buildings, and now Oleksandr Usyk, a former cruiserweight, was hurting him and dropping him in the first fight. You know, so what is the lingering effects of the 3-fight trilogy with Wilder, who is a devastating, maybe one of the most devastating punchers in history? You know, we talk about that made him, so to speak. You know, that was a tremendous rivalry that really cemented a legacy for Tyson Fury among all the other great things that he's done, like the Klitschko victory. But you know, those things sometimes stay with you as well. So it's not just lifestyle; it's also the tough fights you had. You know, most guys don't survive one night with Deontay Wilder. Fury not only beat Wilder 2 out of 3 fights and probably should have won all 3, but also, you know, survived all 3 fights. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Well,
yeah.
We clearly
saw. Here's the deal: be a psychoanalyst, be a therapist, be wherever you like.
Give us the winner.
Give me a name. Who wins it?
All right. I'm gonna say, you know what? I picked. You know, so don't take me right.
That's the slowest you've talked so far, my man.
I picked Fury the first time, all right, and I lost. So don't. But I'm gonna pick Usyk. I don't think Fury has it anymore. I'm not sure he had it the same way anymore. And it's not a disrespect to Fury. I've always loved Fury. I'm just not sure he can summon it back anymore.
Spence, when you listen to that, do you share Paulie's concerns about the punch resistance? I mean, we didn't see that concern against Dillian Whyte, but then again, Dillian Whyte didn't lay a glove on him, did he? We saw it against Ngannou. We didn't see it against Jerick Chisora because he boxed his head off. Do you share that concern that ultimately the resistance has gone as a result of the 3 fights that you had with Wilder?
I don't share the concern about his punch resistance, because I think we've seen him hurt in the past. We've seen him dropped by cruiserweights actually in the past. So, but it's the powers of recovery he's got, and he showed that in the Oleksandr Usyk fight actually. After getting knocked down and totally gone in that 9th round, he come back in the 10th and actually probably even won the 12th round. So, like, his powers of recovery is still very much there. I do share the concerns for him, though, that what he said, you know, the trilogy that he had with Deontay Wilder clearly took everything out of Deontay Wilder. We never saw him the same again. You know, the loss of Joseph Parker and Zhale Zhang, and the manner that he lost, you could clearly see the fight had been knocked out of him. And it may well have had a dent on Tyson Fury Spence, as well. I mean, that takes its toll.
But we didn't see that, Spence, just to pick up on that point. He was imperious against Dillian Whyte. So he fights Dillian Whyte after the 3rd Wilder fight. And whilst Dillian Whyte didn't get to him, Tyson showed no evidence of any lasting effects from the battles that he had with Deontay Wilder, or was that just simply the level of opposition that he had negated that concern?
Absolutely, Simon. I totally think that's exactly what it was. You know, Dillian Whyte, you're talking about levels here, and like Oleksandr Usyk is possibly the greatest of this generation. You know, his movement, you know, his hand speed, his timing, which creates the power. I mean, Frazer, look, you might even be able to answer that question yourself. Like, you know, boxing someone like Dillian Whyte, who's like really a fringe contender, and boxing someone like Oleksandr Usyk, who's a modern day great, that's when you're really going to find out whether a little bit of that fight has been knocked out of you. Am I correct in saying that? Absolutely,
but I think when you really think about it, they pose much different threats. Like, you're never going to say that Dillian Whyte would outbox Tyson Fury, whereas with Usyk, you know, I think he could outbox any heavyweight, cruiserweight on the planet. So I think they're very different fighters. But I know what you're saying. I think Tyson didn't have zero fear going into the Dillian Whyte fight. I didn't think he thought he could ever lose, even on his worst day. But going into fight Usyk, I do believe that he was, from the first bell, was questioning himself. He knew this was the toughest test of his career. So, do
you think that, Fraser? Because I mean, do you think that a lot of what he said was all just bravado when he talked about him being a middleweight? I know that's ridiculous, but he talked about him being of no significance. Mm-hmm. Do you think that Tyson went in there with some apprehensions?
Absolutely, and I say that because people make this assumption that cruiserweights can't hurt heavyweights. They're completely wrong.
We know they can. We've seen Evander Holyfield do it, haven't we?
I've been in the ring with many cruiserweights, and what they don't have in one punch power or size, they make up for in speed, combinations, and we spoke about Usyk mentally draining people. Any heavyweight boxing a natural cruiserweight, that's just it's a thing that naturally happens because they're that little bit faster. with their feet, with their hands, and things come a lot more often.
We'll get to Usyk in a minute, but I want to just dig down on Spence, with you, Spence, because I know you watched the fight back earlier this week, and there are certain things I suspect you'd like to see Tyson Fury do more of. What are those?
The two things that really stand out for me for Tyson Fury, like, you know, and those small margins between winning and losing this contest, is I think when we saw the start of the first contest, I think this is why, by the way, Tyson Fury will come in slightly heavier, because when the start of the first contest, it was Oleksandr Usyk who ran out, took the centre of the ring, and he controlled that space and that timing. That took Fury by surprise, and I think that cost him 2 or 3 rounds at the beginning of the contest, which effectively could have cost him the victory that night. And I think that for Fury to change things up, he needs to, you know, go. He's the one that needs to start fast. He needs to control that centre of the ring. That is very, very important for me on who's going to win and lose this contest. And also, when Fury caught Usyk with that uppercut in that 6th round, what a beautiful shot that was. He timed it perfectly. He looked for it straight through the middle, but he didn't capitalise on it. He didn't jump on it. Now, was that because Oleksandr Usyk's legs were still very good and he used those legs and that speed and that movement to get himself out of trouble? Or was it because Fury was just too slow off the mark and never had the engine to push on again? That's what he needs to capitalise on, those 2 moments, key moments in the fight there that could have won him and lost him the contest. And I think that if he can make those adjustments, and it is a big if he can do that, then he can get victory. But, like I say, it's about Oleksandr Usyk as well and what he's going to do differently and what he's going to change. Like I said, I saw him earlier on. He come in here. Physically, he looked sensational, but he looked bigger as well. So what are the game plans here? What are the tactics? I mean, Frazer, you'd probably be better, you know, talking about that with us on that one. Do you feel that Fury started maybe a little bit too slow now? Could have cost him the contest?
Well, I think I watched it again today. I think at one stage in the fight, I had Tyson Fury 5 rounds ahead. And I do think that if I was Fury and I was in Fury's team, what I looked at was the punch output. The punch output from Fury dropped massively after about 7 rounds, which allowed Usyk to then get a little bit closer to him, throw a lot more shots. He just seemed to find that second gear. And then he proceeded to take over the fight. And Fury, what you spoke about there, Spence, it's all right it's all right having them moments where you're not quite busy all the time, but I think Fury sitting on the ropes and inviting Usyk to throw flurries of 3 and 4 punches, it sort of nicks the round off you. Even if it's a close round, it just allows Usyk to just take them rounds. Fury might have landed a big shot during the round, but the volume of punches for me was the difference, you know, towards the end of the fight.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.